Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Raising Dion, Season 1, Episode 2. It's called Issue 102, Fortress of Solitude. So, full spoilers for the episode, of course. We pick up basically right where we left off at the end of Episode 1, at night, just after the ghosts in the rain, of which there is no more in this episode, so if you were worried it was going to go deep diving into ghost stuff,
It hasn't.
it doesn't. But I do like that she also thinks it's a ghost because we see her searching, on the computer.
Yeah, they look like ghosts.
They
It's a
did.
pretty reasonable assumption. I mean, even if you don't believe in ghosts, that was pretty ghostly.
I mean, she heard her husband's voice speaking to her.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, of course, that's where she's jumping to. Honestly, the husband's voice is also the only reason why I didn't suggest that it was something that just Dion was making out of like the air.
Yeah,
rain.
yeah, I'm with you.
But because of the voice, I was like, no, it's coming from somewhere. It's not him.
Yeah,
in this case.
I agree.
And he's still trying to get a hold of his powers, of course. It does seem to be a little bit more like kind of on command, but there's definitely still a lot of
random elements.
Yeah, like for example, the Twix keep flying at him. It was almost like a ghost was throwing it at him, but you can almost sense it's because he wants it, so it keeps coming back to him.
Yeah, it's a subconscious thing, though.
Yeah. And he tries multiple times, and his powers develop. We find out he's got another power, or you could somehow maybe argue it's an extension of the current one, but it's.
I was trying to think how it would be.
But he can teleport. At least
very Nightcrawler visual to it.
Yes, at least in the same rules as Nightcrawler, where at least so far there's not an indication that he can teleport to anywhere he wants. He has to so far he's always been looking
line of sight.
He's always been looking at the location that he teleports to. In fact, very specifically, like in both cases in this episode, he is staring directly at the point that he's looking at. And what's interesting is that in both cases he's trying to just move something.
And ends up moving himself.
And moves himself instead, yeah.
I'm just trying to think, the third time that he teleports, right at the very end, is he looking at his mother at that point?
Yeah, I think he's turned around, yeah.
Is it? Okay. I wasn't sure if he was still looking at the car or if he turned and looked at her.
Because they yell at him and he turns around. Now, maybe if you go back, and maybe he does look at the car at the last split second or something, but I think he turns around and looks at his...
You could be right. I'm not going to fight you on this one. I just wasn't sure.
So yeah, like I think the powers development is kind of interesting, and because we've went through the initial like this is happening of episode 1, they have a bit more fun with it here, where like there's like Lego floating above his head as he's sleeping, and
yeah,
of course the chair at the job interview, Kat, Nicole's sister, phones her and says, "Hey, I've got you an interview with was it the PR department of the hospital?" And
yeah.
I honestly didn't realize that regular hospitals have PR departments. That's
I don't know that they do in the UK.
Yeah, maybe they don't. Maybe this is a strictly US thing.
Maybe private hospitals.
Maybe, yeah.
But I mean, typically less need to tell someone to come and choose this hospital. You just go to the one that's nearby.
Yes, you do. I don't know. It's weird. It's almost like hearing like, oh, the local Burger King is hiring a lighting technician. Wait, what?
Yeah, like are they putting on a burger production?
the local supermarket is hiring a astrophysicist for what?
Hey, their calculations need to be very specific for those profit margins. I'm willing to bet you that those astrophysicists are damn good mathematicians.
So the job interview is a big part of this, and it's setting up that she can't really, the guy's asking her, hey, like, are you free on weekends? You have to be available. And even during the interview, she's having to look over his shoulder and see Dion like across the foyer into the other office.
Yeah, not looking so good.
No, and he's messing around. He's on the game on his phone with Pat. Doing whatever, and then eventually starts floating in the chair, which it kind of raises an interesting question. Like if he just stands in something like say a skateboard, which he was on a skateboard last episode actually, can he effectively fly if he can learn to control this? Because he was floating in the chair.
One, I see no reason why not.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I see no reason why he can't just at some point lift himself.
You see, this is an interesting query that many a telekinesis rules have played with, where some will do it. Chronicle did it, where no, they can just straight up fly because they can control themselves floating. And then some just kind of avoid it and never address it. And I always get the impression that the logic behind that is just that you can manipulate everything but yourself, right? You can't do yourself.
Yes. But I mean, going back to the whole discussion we were having last episode on the nature of the powers,
which was speculation, to be fair.
It was. It's maybe manipulate some air currents to just lift you up, give you a little bit of cushioning.
It's entirely possible he can do both. It's entirely possible he has
is.
telekinesis and has air bending qualities. What's interesting though is that obviously the title of the episode refers to Superman. I think it's interesting to me that even if he somehow ties teleportation into his air powers, where he can literally just sort of move through the air like in a split second kind of thing, it still at least presents itself as a completely second power to us in terms of the functionality of it. And I think him having a couple of distinct powers actually makes him feel more like a Superman, in the sense that most superheroes tend to have one power, and that's their power. Superman is one of the few who have an array of powers.
I'm not gonna lie. At the end, where he was, with the binoculars looking out the window, and his mum and Pat were talking outside, I was half expecting him to get super hearing, and listening on their conversation, like with the way it was shot.
I actually thought it was when he was trying to move the bunny, because what happens at the end, of course, is that he's watching out the window. He's just kind of pretending that the car's going past their bad guys, and he's like, yeah, keep driving, bad guys. And this little girl in a buggy drops her doll, like it's like a bunny, it's like a fluffy bunny. And the dad, who's like pushing the stroller, doesn't notice. And he's like, hey, and he's like, okay, I'm going to use my powers. And he's like sort of like focusing through the window. And I thought he was going to smash the glass. I thought the glass was just going to go shh and just shatter onto the road. And obviously like, they'd look up and be like, whoa, what just happened? What's funny is that when this scene actually played out, I remembered that, oh, yeah, this was in the trailer, but I'd forgotten about it.
So you'd seen the teleporting in the trailer already then?
I had, yes, but I'd forgotten about it.
Okay.
But because obviously the first time we see it in the episodes when he goes up the tree.
Yes, chasing the squirrel.
Yes, because he likes squirrels, apparently. But he ends up just teleporting himself to where the bunny is on the road. And I thought, man, he's in the middle of the road. I could see something, not that he's going to get hurt, but he's going to have to use his powers again to get out. And sure enough, he does it. He teleports into his mother's arms. And the whole cliffhanger here is not only has he done that and almost died, but Pat sees this. He sees the teleportation back into her arms. And
so he's about to become the mentor.
He's about to become the mentor, which is a conversation he has with him. He wants to be the Yoda.
But cooler than Yoda, or whatever his phrase.
And he, it's a bit of an awkward conversation, because at first he's like, no, like, Mum's more like my Yoda. But then when he brings up his dad and says he's more of a sidekick, it gets kind of awkward. And it's almost, as much as he's a kid, as much as he's like just an almost 8-year-old kid, he actually does turn around and like sort of recognize that he's maybe hurt his feelings a little bit, and kind of backtracks, says, oh, do you want to be my mentor? And also Pat has the Stranger Things theme as a ringtone. Just going to throw that out there. A little bit of synergy, a
little bit of cross promotion. Yeah,
a little bit of synergy. They do set up he's a complete nerd though, because he's got like sci-fi movie posters.
Doom poster right on in the center of the stairs.
Also, he's been paid well. That is a giant loft apartment he's rocking.
Yeah, to be fair, his job looks pretty cushy.
It does. It looks like he's working at a place. It looks Google-esque wherever he's working.
It does. He's an engineer for a tech company by the sounds of it, and he's building whatever the scientists are inventing or thinking of.
And after the whole job interview thing, Kat actually calls Pat and says, and this establishes that they know each other as well, and they seem to be not like super close, but close enough that at one point she says, I love you, and she's kind of like riding him hard for like being kind of unwanted. Go do that unwanted thing that you do. Like, they clearly know each other. She's kind of having fun with him. They're clearly friends.
He's as kind of a part of the family, through Mark. Like says, they were obviously friends for years before the two of them even met. So
yeah, and we have this interesting scene actually where the superintendent for the building is like, because Nicole's drilling to,
she's baby proofing the place so that all the stuff doesn't float off.
Yeah, and she's not meant to be drilling into the walls, and the guys try to give her a hard time, but this neighbor kind of like chases him off. but she's kind of this typical nosy neighbor who immediately wants to come in and like get gossip and find out who she is and why she's here and what's going on. And she, you know, Pat at one point phones her during this, and there's obviously the whole thing with the woman's phone number. Because she'd mentioned it to him, he got really kind of like curious and wanted to track her down and find her. And we know she was listening, and I do like again that she kind of brings up like in that phone call when she leaves her a message. You know, Nicole says like, "I'm not accusing you of anything. I just want to know what my husband was doing before he died." Like I like
I want to know who my husband was.
Yeah, but you know, it's just like she's aware of what it sounds like she's accusing her of, and she wants to make it clear that she doesn't necessarily think that's exactly what it is. Like it could be that.
Yeah.
But
do you know the only bit of this that played kind of weird for me? The idea that you can phone someone now and not know that they've answered and think you're on a voicemail, because it always tells you, yeah, you know, right, you're on a voicemail now.
What do you mean? I think she was on the voicemail.
Yeah, but can you listen in on live voicemails these days on a mobile?
I've literally never. I've had like one voicemail my entire life. I don't know.
I've had numerous, and I mean, maybe I'm being just weird here and just wrong, but in my experience, you have to wait till they finish the message and then.
I mean,
because it's not like an old, you know, a recording machine where it's recording it live.
Even if this is wrong, I still think you're being stupid with this. This is one of your complaints, but just because you've not experienced it, you sit there and complain that this is not how you've experienced it, so therefore it's wrong.
No, I'm not saying it is wrong. I'm saying
you went on a rant.
Thought it was wrong.
You went on a rant on an episode of something because someone didn't have a phone in their bedroom, and that's alien to you. And I'm like, tons of people probably don't have phones in their bedroom. I know it's common to have a phone in your bedroom, but just because you think it's weird doesn't mean it's actually that unrealistic that someone might not. This is the same as that to me. This debate.
No. But what I'm saying is, you know, in days gone by, where you would listen to the voicemail, you know, as it was being said, is because there was a recording machine there that was playing it out as it was being recorded. Whereas now on mobile, they're just left there, and they record, and then it's like, right, here you go, we'll send it to you now. So this was just, it was an alien concept to me.
I don't care. I didn't even think about it once.
Fair enough.
I even think about it. This is you nitpicking at something that does not need to be.
I'm just saying, it felt weird to me, and it took me out of the scene.
Even if not a single phone in the world does this right now, it's still not a problem. It's such a small little.
It's a problem
detail.
if it took me out of the scene.
No, because this is just you. This is just you being weird.
Well, it might not be just me.
It's just you. I'm wanting to put high stakes on it. High
Name
stakes.
Price.
I just said it, high stakes. I want several steaks, maybe some T-bones.
You got T-bones, okay, fine.
Although I've never had a T-bone steak.
Have you not?
No, I've had a reason. I usually get sirloin. That's usually my cut of choice. But regardless, so yeah, so you know, we know she's heard this mysterious woman, and we also, I mean, we can kind of see it in the scene, but later on when Pat tracks down the Facebook or whatever, and it's odd because she's kind of went off grid since the day that, you know, she was saved. We can see that this is an older woman. This is a woman who's like maybe in her 60s.
Yeah, you got that impression on the phone. You know,
that's what I just said. You see it in that scene, but when you see her face properly in the photo on Facebook,
it's clear. Yeah.
It's clear that she's an older woman. And I thought it was interesting that Pat didn't say that over the phone. He's like, "Hey, but she looks like she's 60, so I don't think it's an affair." Like,
yeah, it would be an easy way of kind of.
I mean, obviously, it doesn't mean it's definitely not. He could be into older ladies, but like, it's less likely at that point.
It might help, yeah. It might help with what she's thinking.
Yeah.
Also, he just has a buddy at DARPA with super facial recognition tech.
Yeah, he's that character, right? He's that nerd who has friends that have facial recognition tech.
I got mates at DARPA. It's cool.
But yeah, so he's really concerned with that, and I do like that you get a little bit more of like how him and Nicole, like, why they have kind of like a weird relationship. Like, we find out that when her and Mark started dating, he tried to talk him out of it and say that she was a train wreck,
or as he puts it, a nicer way of saying train wreck.
Yeah, but he kind of admits that he was just kind of like not jealous, but like he felt abandoned because like he couldn't, keep a relationship going, and
Yeah,
Mark
and
was
this
all of a
was
sudden,
someone just coming in and taking his best friend that he's had
yeah,
for years at this point, I assume.
yeah. So he kind of admits that in this scene. So he's owning up to his kind of childish pettiness, I suppose. But it gives us a little bit more of their character, and kind of establishes why. And she kind of calls him back, and all we really hear is thank you. I thought she was going to ask him to come in and eat the Chinese food that he just brought over, but
Yeah, but he's definitely coming in after what he's just seen.
oh yeah, she's going to drag him in and be like, okay, you need to keep your mouth shut. And yes, he's got powers, and yes, this is happening,
and he's going to be extremely excited.
he is. Yes, he's going to have a completely different outlook on this.
Yeah.
Just you wait. But so no, I like that stuff. The stuff early on in the episode though, as well, where she's trying to teach Dion by the lake to try and like be calm and harness his powers, and it's just not working because he's just running off and chasing squirrels. Like,
yeah, she's doing yoga and stuff because she was a dancer, right? I think that's what we saw last episode.
Yeah, we saw it when they arrived at the cabin. We see it was like a quick flashback. We never mentioned a bit of her because she's there's like the ballet pole. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, against the mirror.
Yeah, the dance studio pole at the side of on the wall, and she kind of like holds on to it, and then it flashes back to her dancing, and it's like, yeah, this is what she probably did before she got pregnant and got married or whatever. But yeah, so like they set up that, and it's like she's got the right idea. She understands she has to teach him to control it, and she has to teach him to keep it a secret.
I actually think this is probably where the title of this episode comes from the most, Fortress of Solitude. Obviously being, a Superman thing, this kind of being like, okay, no, the Kents actually had to teach Clark powers. And,
oh yeah, well, I think
things,
that,
whereas
and
most superheroes don't have the parents doing that.
Well, I think that and the literal den that he builds later is kind of his fortress.
Sure, yeah.
I think there's like a literal sort of wink, wink.
To be fair, that's a lair.
Is the Fortress of Solitude not a lair?
I don't know. Lairs are usually a bit darker.
That defines a lair?
I think it does, yeah. Yeah. I think the Fortress of Solitude, it's architecturally too nice and bright to be a lair.
That's because it's in the goddamn like North Pole. It can like, you'll have to hide it. There's no one there.
Exactly. It's a base. It's not a lair. Semantics, I admit, but there is a difference.
Yeah. We get more of the best character, Esmeralda, this episode. She popped over to give him his homework because he's obviously been missing school for a day or two.
And his lair was not wheelchair accessible.
No, she wasn't very happy about that. Again, everything about her, she talks like an old woman. Her glasses are like old women's, the pointy, corners.
Yeah.
It's great. She's great.
I do not quite see the appeal.
I'm all for a scene of Esmeralda every episode, just to
Yeah, I bet you are.
Just to ground the show, as it were, just to keep it down to earth. And the not even the kid thing. I mean, she has a kid, but obviously the reason why I like her is that she doesn't act like a kid at all. She talks like the oldest character in the show. But yeah, so yeah, we got a lot of interest in this episode. We had Nosy Neighbor, we got to know her sister a bit more. I think Cap in this episode felt a bit more like a fully fledged character as opposed to the first one.
I agree with that.
And we did get, of course, some more powers. I wouldn't say we got a ton more mythology this episode outside of just the teases of, okay, who's this mysterious woman? Why did she change her name? I would almost debate that this woman like could have. Yeah, I don't know.
Could she have been Mark's Yoda?
Maybe. I almost was wondering though, the way that her like profile disappears, it was making me think that she wasn't the real person. Like, this person that answered the phone is on the Facebook page. The reason why it doesn't really have anything on it after that is because they just set this up at the time as an alias, because the real person is in hiding or something.
Could be, yeah, could be.
No.
Other things that I noticed, when she was going into the shed to get the ladder.
The cage, yeah.
Faraday cage in there. I would not be surprised to see Dion use that at some point.
Yeah, I actually, I almost said actually out loud when she went in there. I saw that. I was like, oh, is that going to be literally his fortress? Is he going to make a fortress out of the cage? Did not put it past, but Yeah, it crossed my mind. It definitely crossed my mind.
Yeah.
No, I think this episode was a bit more playful. It had a bit more fun. The montage of him in the office messing around.
There was multiple times where the music was harmonically straight out of Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean the early Harry Potter, in the kid-friendly bit where, especially if you've seen them, right?
Yeah, the Christopher Columbus directed Harry Potter movies. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm being very specific. Near the start of the very first one, where he's in the zoo and there's the snake and the glass disappears, and you have all this playful mischief music, as
Oh, yeah.
I think a good way of describing it. That is in this episode is lifted basically straight out of those scenes, which I thought was an interesting tonal shift. In not complete shift, but it's a lot more playful here.
I think what's interesting about this show is that obviously Dion's the one with the powers and the superhero, and he's a pretty major character in it, but clearly Nicole's the main character. Nicole is the protagonist, essentially.
Well, I mean, even the title is talking about her. She's the one raising Dion. Yeah,
of course. And I think that is interesting as we go through the show and talk about how this is about her kind of maybe dealing with the loss of her husband. Obviously, literally, but I mean, in terms of how Dion represents aspects of that, how he feels like this force of nature, how it feels, it's kind of that thing we always talk about with science fiction and fantasy and whatever, where you take the literal idea, or even
you take the metaphorical,
and make it literal, and make or at least turn it up to 11. Again, I always go back to high school feels like hell, so you put it literally on the mouth of hell, much like the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
There was no need for that.
Oh, there was every need for that.
That was uncalled for.
That was every need for that. And I think it's interesting that he's the age he is. I think I could easily see this playing out with like a 14-year-old and how that plays differently. But
I think I'd enjoy it more.
I think it's more unique though, not having it be a 14-year-old.
No, it is. It definitely is. I just still don't think he's a good enough actor. Sorry. And two, 8-year-olds are annoying as shit. The start of this where he's just running off shouting after a squirrel. Oh, shut up.
That was fun. I don't think they're overdoing it where I'm annoyed by it. It's just enough that it's like you get that he's an 8-year-old, but it's not like irritating. Clearly, your threshold is
my tolerance for 8-year-olds is significantly lower.
Is apparently 0.01.
Yeah, I really don't like kids.
So no, I'm down to keep going. I want to see where this goes. I want to see how Pat reacts and
how
the mentor stuff's going. So are we doing more? I think it sounds like we're doing more.
Yeah.
All right, you come back for episode 3. Day after tomorrow, day after tomorrow. We'll try and squeeze it in tomorrow. We'll see how it's.
See how the schedule plays.
I think we can. From memory, I think we can, but we'll check.
I think we can get one in tomorrow, but probably not the day after.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, we'll keep going. We'll keep going with Raising Dion. Yeah. And I still, for the record, I still find the characters very likable. I think Nicole is very likable. I think they do a neat trick here where there's a balancing act where she could very quickly become frustrating because she's dismissive. Well, not dismissive, like not dismissive in the way that usually we use the word dismissive, but dismissive of how real things are. She could be that way, or she could be, but she's always very sympathetic when she's struggling to deal with what Dion's going through because it's such a weird thing. She's always kind of doing her best, and she does seem to care, and she does it's a nice fine line they're walking where she's very likable whilst also being agitated with what Dion's going through and dealing with all that. So, yeah. And actually, just on Pat, I realized he's played by Jason Ritter, who I only really know from one thing. This is the son of John Ritter, who, funnily enough, was in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He played Ted in an episode called Ted. In season 2, he played a robot. But Jason Ritter was in Freddy vs. Jason. Amusingly enough, he was not the Jason. He was not the titular Jason. And Freddy vs. Jason.
He's just another Jason.
He's just another Jason. But he was in that. He wasn't very good in that. He's better in this.
He's not bad here. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. He's not amazing.
He's not amazing. He fits the role well enough. He's not good. I mean, Nicole's very good. I think the actress playing Nicole, Alicia Wainwright. Great, she's very good. And I think she has to because she's carrying the whole show, and she's also carrying almost literally at times an 8-year-old. So she has to.
Yeah, no, it's very important that she is good.
What
Otherwise,
I was going to say, what I think is interesting about this is that, this gets to season 2. I think they have to age the kid in real time. Season 2, he has to be 9.
unless that's why they greenlit it for 2 immediately, because they were shooting pretty much back to back.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Which would be not the first time someone's done that with kid actors.
Fine, in that case then, season 3 and 4, you'd have to be like 10.
Yeah.
You'd have to jump a couple of years at that point then.
Yeah.
But it'd be easy enough to just go 1 year at a time if they're shooting them essentially that way. And just say,
I agree. And they're only 9 episodes, or at least this season's only 9 episodes, and they are mostly 40-minute-ish rather than the full hours or longer. So maybe a year to just over a year is a reasonably realistic time frame.
I wonder how that choice was made. I wonder if they got a budget for a season of 8 1-hour episodes and they said, I think we'd rather have 9 40 to 50-minute episodes. I wonder if they made that choice and as a creative choice. Because I don't know if Netflix would care. I don't know if Netflix gave them the money for the season. I don't think Netflix...
You split up however you want.
Yeah.
Maybe. I
imagine they'd say we want at least 8 or something like that. Because otherwise it feels like a short season. But
possibly, yeah. It is unusual. This is only the 3rd season I can think of at all with 9 episodes. Last season of Mindhunter.
Yes.
And before that, the 1st season of Vikings. But that was 9 for a specific reason because of Viking mythology and stuff.
Oh sure. Right now, Righteous Gemstones on HBO is 9 episodes.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. No, admittedly, I think that's because technically the first one counted as a double, even though that is not evident in the titles or anything like that. But I feel like
it's double length
from the production schedule. I feel like it probably counted as a double, and therefore
I think traditionally that is what they do. Like when if network TV especially has a double episode at the start or end, even if it's aired just as one big thing, they still count it as 2 in the production.
Yeah. So also, this might be an important detail actually that we can't overlook, even though we don't have much to go on yet. The local sheriff or deputy comes by the cabin and is asking questions about a woman who's disappeared from a cabin on the other side of the lake, presumably during the storm.
She said, well, the story is that she left during the storm to go and see what was happening because it came out of nowhere and then vanished. But he points out, well, that's the boyfriend's story. It could have been a convenient cover.
I will say
maybe something happened.
I will say this cop was not a great actor. I thought his delivery of that was a little bit
rough. Yeah, I agree.
Which is, he's only in one scene, so it's whatever. But
it doesn't matter in the long run. But you notice it in the scene, don't you?
Yeah, it depends how much more of them we get. But at least as of now, he's he stood out as being bad. Whereas because I think he stands out more than any of the kids you think are bad, just because I think the kids they feel like kids, so they kind of get away with it being a bit rougher, bizarrely.
No, I agree in the sense that while I think the kids are not good actors, I let them go because they're kids. I don't expect them to be great actors. Bad kid actors is the rule rather than good kid actors is the exception. When it comes to adult actors being cast in something, I expect better.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so episode 2 was good. I liked it just as much as the first, maybe even more. And I'm looking forward to see where things go. So yeah, and it's funny because this was like a 38-minute episode. It was a bit shorter than the typical Netflix episode. And I came out of it going, I wonder how long we'll talk about this, but we're actually like almost at 30 minutes. And, maybe that last couple of minutes was a bit more of a broad conversation, but I feel like there was enough meat in the episode to dig into.
Even if you take out a few fluffy elements of our conversation, we're still comfortably within up to 20 minutes of conversation on that.
Yeah, so, there's enough in there character and mythology-wise, even though it is a lighter show overall, like it does have a lighter tone to it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not got the content in there to really dive into. So, yeah, that's good. That's good. I will say, just a small point on the shooting. There was, see when Pat and Nicole were outside talking towards the end with the Chinese food and that conversation was taking place. I thought that scene had an interesting look to it. Not that it was interesting in a...
Just their part outside.
Yeah. It wasn't like in a fancy way. It was almost the opposite, where it felt very like a natural shoot in the street. It felt like almost Like I can feel them being on a real street, and I know that sounds like a weird thing to say because obviously lots of movies and stuff will shoot on a real street. It felt I don't know if it's because like maybe
just things like there were still cars going past and they were just there.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's because they had less control maybe than like a movie set, like maybe we'll section off the whole street so every car that goes past will be their car that they have approved to go by at a certain time. It felt a little bit more guerrilla to me, like
just a little bit more random in stuff that was happening around them.
Yeah, which isn't a problem. It was just a feeling I got from it. It felt a bit more like natural. Which
in a weird way, it kind of feels low budget in the sense of, at a lower budget, you do not have that control.
Oh, sure, but it's free production value. So,
yeah, exactly.
That's why I can't remember the name of it, but I was listening to a podcast recently and we're talking about a horror movie that was filmed around the Cannes Film Festival, and it has like the crowds from Cannes in the background, and it's like this is a free production. This is like you don't need extras, you just have this in the background, and he's like, there's a free crowd.
Make the most of your surroundings.
It's great. If there's a building getting demolished nearby, you've got a date for it. Write it into your script. Go shoot it. You can put it in your movie. Make production value, damn it. Just a weird thing. It felt just a little bit more let's just race out and shoot in the street before anyone like tells us to get lost, and like hope no one interrupts us, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It had that vibe. I don't know if it's just because the cars came by at like moments that felt like a weirder like point to have the audio.
Times that traditionally, if you were choosing when to do it, you do it in between the pause of the conversation, so you're not interrupting anything.
Or maybe actually, maybe the most accurate thing to say here is more just that they didn't have the time to ADR the whole scene, so they could just pick and choose. So they had to keep the natural car sounds in to an extent and cover them up.
That could be it, yeah.
Yeah. It could just be as simple as that, but it gave it this feeling of like, I don't know, like we're out there on the street and we can't control anything. But
which can be good or bad, depending on your preference.
Yeah, it's a bad thing. It was just something that stuck out to me. Again, this is me being a film nerd who's noticing things like this. This is not something most people notice.
For some people, that might be annoying, but for others, they might really like that feeling.
For me, it's a curiosity. I'm just kind of like, it's like when I'm watching a Larry Cohen movie and he's clearly shooting in a street without permission, and like almost everyone walking past is turning and looking at the scene as they're going past, and I'm like, that's just kind of funny. Like it's in the background and whatever.
But I guarantee there are some people who hate that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. But yeah, that is episode 2 of Raising Dion. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month. And you get bonuses, exclusive, you get outtakes of tangents that maybe didn't fit in the recordings that we did, and you get all that at the $1, and then there's more stuff at the $5 tier and up, so go and have a look and see if you want to do that and keep all the content coming. Otherwise, get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates, and of course you can check out other content. We have other shows we're covering. Mr. Robot's back. We'll have a review up sometime on Monday.
So excited for
that. We're covering The Deuce on HBO right now. Me and Tara are covering The Righteous Gemstones that I mentioned earlier, plus Our Boys, which is about to finish actually. There's the finale of that's this coming week.
Really?
So that's coming. Watchmen's coming soon. There's other stuff coming. So check out the other TV reviews and the other movie podcasts and stuff. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?